Hello and welcome to the Claret and Blue podcast. For those that are watching, slightly different setup for me here. Still got a blue background because I painted the wall yesterday in my cellar. I'm in the process of moving all my stuff down and kind of making use of an extra room, to be fair. But it's probably 5 to 10 degrees colder down here, so I'm moving everything for the sake of a few warm days. So I've got nothing up in the background, no pictures, no shirts or anything. I've literally moved everything down here this morning and I'm sweating doing it. No one really wants to hear us talk about the weather, John, but are you okay? It's going to break soon, isn't it?
No, I'm good. I'm off today, so I've worked the last 5 or so days. So I've told myself, all right, I need to do some gardening and bits and bobs that I would do otherwise because I enjoy it. And we've had a problem really in our garden because we've got this tree at the back, which is nice because it sort of blocks the back of the neighbours and stuff, so it's a bit of privacy. But then it started to grow like blackberries on it, we think.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah, which sounds like, oh, okay, free blackberries. But it's actually a really annoying thing because they keep dropping onto the slabs, right? And there's no way of moving them without squashing them. So, do you know what I mean? So they're just staining all the slabs. I don't think they'll stain them forever, but it's just every single day there's just a huge amount of blackberries on the floor, and I'm there sweeping them up. And I mean, like, geez, first world problems and that, but it's really annoying.
We're going to start with Duck Come Dean with me, who says, if Emerson Royal was being linked with Hull City, I'd think they're in trouble. There is not a team in the Premier League who would take him, apart from Villa maybe. There is not an element of data that suggests this is a good move. He isn't just a bad player, he was a target of ridicule. John, we have spoke on the channel, me and Bardell did an episode, and I'm a bit like, listen, if Emery wants him, okay. And that's probably a default position for me, that he's a cheap backup, and if we want him, okay. I don't look at it with, oh, this is a great kind of bit of spotting a hidden gem in Brazil or anything like that, and we're going to get something out of him. If he plays a handful of times and doesn't let us down, all right.
Yeah, when you say spot a gem in Brazil, that pushed me straight to Wesley, who joined Roma. I don't know if you remember when we were looking at Wesley França, who I think was
I thought you were talking about the Wesley that was at Villa. I was going to say, he's gone to
No.
Roma.
No. And I think he came from Flamengo, which is, he did. So, yeah, we should have done that. But saying that, Cash was probably in the top 5 right-backs, or maybe not probably, he was in the top 5 right-backs in the Premier League last season. So, the whole thing of, well, when would Wesley play? And if we had a better backup than Andres Garcia, would it have mattered? Like, yeah, it would have been nice to have taken the load off Cash, but we didn't need to. I guess you have to prepare for, obviously, the eventuality that Cash doesn't play, nearly a full season. And to be fair, in previous campaigns, he hasn't. So I think we got, I don't know if lucky is the right word, but we got lucky, I suppose. And that Cash remained fit and he didn't have any muscular injuries, because he has missed a few games in previous seasons because of those things, and suspensions, I guess, as well. Emerson Royal. So, firstly, I'm not a massive fan of the sort of, oh, why are we doing this? Like, this is a joke. We have to realise where we are. Like, let's aim our frustrations elsewhere. Villa's recruitment, even though we've got restrictions, hasn't been very good in the last 2 years. However, there are some exceptions to that rule. Emerson Royal being 27. 27, is he 26? He's 27, of course.
Yeah.
And 27's everywhere. Not huge wages and obviously a low transfer fee. I don't know, like, I'm not massively against it. Like, it is
I'm
what
not
it
against
is.
it, I'm not for it, really. I'm just like,
no, but what?
With that.
I don't know. I look at some of the players that Emery's turned around. Ironically, quite a few of them are from Tottenham as well, which I'm trying to lean into that sort of positivity. So, Etienne Capoue, Van Foyth, and both of those 2 players won the Europa League with Emery, a team who was filled with players who were cast off from other teams, really. We've seen that with Lindelof as well. We've seen that with Rashford to a different sort of extent, but similar. And Giovanni Lo Celso as well also came from Tottenham and went into that Villarreal team. So interesting that Lo Celso, Capoue and Van Foyth were all in and around, at least. Obviously not exactly overlapping with Emerson Royal, because I think he joined him in 21 and they won the Europa League in 21. But similar sort of time in Tottenham's history, should we say, of a team who were trying to, or were sort of where we are now, pushing upwards and trying to break into that top 5, top 6, top 4 consistently. They didn't make the grade at Spurs. We've obviously seen players come to Villa and they have proven themselves to be valuable to us. I would add Ross Barkley in that as well. He's played his part, although frustratingly not enough because of different reasons. Victor Lindelof's absolutely in there. Bizot's in there. So I don't think we have to sign. I've said this back in January, I think, when I said we should sign Richarlison. Not literally, but more in the sense of I don't think we need to be signing big names or signing players who we may think will be the next whatever, because that didn't work for Nedeljkovic. It hasn't worked for Garcia. It didn't work for Ozcan. It didn't, so many different players that Monchi signed, and that might be more of a Monchi thing than a Emery thing. But I'm not massively opposed to a player joining us who has played over 100 games for Spurs in the space of 3 years, and although was criticised by Spurs fans,
really
101 games for Spurs in all comps. I'm sure when Lindelof was playing for Man United, he probably got some stick as well. And he was outstanding for us across 3 or 4 different positions last season. So, yeah, let's see how he goes. I think that's my thing with any of these sorts of transfers. I'm not going to comment on it until I see them play for not just Villa, but play under Emery and have a chance to earn their stripes. So, yeah, I'm not massively opposed to it. Hopefully it happens for our sakes. It's clearly a player that we want, and if it's a player that we're going for, that means that he's ahead of the queue on others. So yeah, I'm not going to have a massive sort of rant about it not being the right fit for us, because we haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, okay. All right, let's move on. From Nick in New York City, with Lee Kang-in reportedly available for 25 million, is this a market Villa have explored at all? It feels like he'd be a great potential fit. Weren't we linked with him at one stage a couple of years ago?
Yeah, we were, yeah. Annoyingly, I got relatively close to his camp, shall we say, and for different reasons, this summer that hasn't really happened. But I don't think Villa are in for him. Sorry, I retract that. I don't know if Villa are in for him or not, but I don't think he'll be coming to us because I think he's going to Atletico, right? A couple of seasons ago, or summers ago even, yeah, we were looking at him, and obviously he's been at PSG and won lots of different things at PSG, but needs to start playing games now. But yeah, very good player, and even more than a good player, it'd be a great brand for us to kind of piggyback on to get in the Asian market as well. So again, sure it's something that we've looked at, but maybe it's not exactly what Unai wants at this stage of Aston Villa.
Let's go to Alan Wright's Barber next, who said, should we be looking far more at the best of the Championship to unearth the next star? Rodgers, Watkins, Konsa, Cash, Buendia, Bowen, Elise, Eze, Mbeumo, Scott, and many others have all been bought from the Championship or have transitioned to be Premier League players after promotion, and fees are more than reasonable than players excelling in Dutch, Portuguese, Belgian, or French leagues. Does it feel like the Championship gets a little overlooked these days, and the Premier League is littered with expensive flops from the big leagues instead?
Yeah,
it probably is overlooked a little bit,
as is the case with academy football. Even more so these days. If you're showing anything at 18 or whatever, you're probably picked off by Man City anyway. But no, it's true. Watkins and Cash, they came to Villa, obviously when they were far past 18, but still young enough. But again, those expectations at Villa were very different to what they are now. We need to be buying players who can make an impact, or Emery thinks that can make an impact. Morgan Rodgers is obviously one that we look at, but even when he signed, it wasn't to make an impact in the way that in the way that he has. Sorry, for him, it was you play beneath Jacob Ramsey.
Yeah, there was no way we were talking about him being signed and saying, well, you give it a couple of seasons and he could be worth 100 million. No way.
Well, yeah. Or even at the time, no one was saying, or Villa weren't thinking, oh yeah, Morgan Rodgers will have a star role to play at the end of this. And he didn't necessarily have a star role to play at the end of the season, but I remember games against like Bournemouth, West Ham away, he started to show us. But yeah, he developed much quicker than Villa thought. And that first game of his first full season at home against Arsenal, so after the West Ham away game, and then we played Arsenal at home, he was really good and had Rice and Partey hanging off his back. And we all thought, like, oh, okay, like he's got it. I remember actually saying in that pre-season, like, Morgan Rodgers is going to not only be a player to kind of look out for Villa, but in the Premier League. And that was proven correct. Yeah. But I took like no sort of... I said that because I think every Villa fan knew it. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't a rogue shout or anything. It was just from the outside. I think people probably wouldn't be aware of him.
Rodgers might be quite good.
Yeah. But it was one of those because from the outside, people probably looked at the Villa team and thought, yeah, Watkins scored loads of goals in that 23-24 season. And they've got, different elements that are really strong. But actually, it was Rodgers, who I think we all looked at and thought, yeah, he could really make strides, and he did. So yeah, so I'm going to look now at the Championship sort of most valuable players, and I have to do this because I can't. I don't watch much Championship football because I literally don't have the time. Hayden Hackney is obviously the one player who I think is ready. more than most for a Premier League move. But I'm looking at the sort of list of players, and I'm not seeing too many that. Yeah, there's an awful lot that could play in the Premier League, but for Villa, not sort of make an impact in the team like Rodgers did, or be so quick to make that impact, but also just play a role, because playing in the Champions League means that these players will play. So like Philogene, for example, is a really good example of this. So we were going into a Champions League season, we brought Philogene back mainly for sort of financial reasons and the fact that we did see a player in him. But apart from that Bayern game, he was a wing back, didn't he, really? I think for large parts of it. Apart from that, we didn't really see much that would, okay, like you can balance Champions League and you can balance Premier League games, and it didn't happen. So in January, we sold him. And yeah, I'm looking down the list and nothing's moving me particularly. I mean, a lot of these players have just been promoted anyway. Ipswich players and Cov players. You got someone like Jack Radoni, for example, but obviously that'd be asking for a lot more money if you wanted to sign him, because they've just gone up. But yeah, there will be talent, but I'm sorry, I don't have the answer of who is the next big thing coming out of the Championship.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, on Rodgers, let's stick with him. And James asks, in a scenario where Rodgers does leave, does the transfer income have the potential to be Villa's equivalent of the Liverpool Coutinho money, which form the basis of their subsequent dominance with Alisson, Fabinho and Van Dijk signed? Would this give Villa significant breathing room in relation to some of the financial regulations? I think
we're a long way past there, and for different reasons. I'd say no, because when was that? 2019 was it? Alisson joined and Van Dijk.
Yeah,
something like that, because they won the league in 1920.
Yeah.
So, might have even been. I don't know, but it might have even been before that. That's all of a sudden. That's a very long time ago. So, listen, obviously rules restrict us. Back then, it would have been less so, and even less so for someone like, or a team like Liverpool. Transfer fees are less. How much did they pay for Van Dijk? Was it 70? Accounting for inflation, you probably look at more like 100 now. Alisson, the same thing. So. Yeah, and I guess you could say, well, the Coutinho money would be more then. Yeah, not wrong. But again, we know where we are. Selling Rodgers wouldn't be revolutionary for Villa. What would be revolutionary for Villa is if they make a bigger fan base abroad, basically. It's not, there's no quick fix to this, and we know that. It's something that takes time. I guess you could say, well, it would be a quick fix if next week all of a sudden we have fans popping out in, all the continents, and everyone all of a sudden thinks that Villa can compete fan base wise or monetary wise with the big six. But that doesn't take even 2 years, 3 years. That might take a decade. And it's something that Spurs have managed to do for reasons that I don't think Villa can, maybe at this time as well. So it's really difficult for us. But we know where we are, and selling Rodgers won't all of a sudden mean that we're fine. We can now, for 3 seasons, spend this money like we did with Jack, and we had that kind of 3-year period where we were like, okay, let's go for it. So
just something quickly that I'm sure we'd have spoken about at the time, this kind of like deal with UEFA, for want of a better phrase, us and Chelsea, was it, I think, getting a slap on the wrist for breaking rules or whatever. But
sporting sanction,
yeah, you kind of agree this thing of your transfer income and blah, blah, blah. We'd have spoken about that at the time, I'm certain of it, but I've seen comments on YouTube and in the mailbag of, you keep talking about transfers and restrictions and you don't mention the UEFA thing. Firstly, because I think we've mentioned it before. Good timing for us almost, because I'm happy to plug someone else. Tom Colomossi was on 1874 yesterday, I think, talking about kind of, the light at the end of the tunnel for Villa, which is basically, if you can keep qualifying for the Champions League, that's good. But he explained it well in there, so I don't know whether you saw that, if you want to kind of comment on it. Tom explains well different things surrounding the UEFA sanction and where Villa are with that. But Villa basically needs to follow the rules strictly, and then there's obviously a bit more lenience that they'd get. So, I would direct people to that rather than us, repeat it probably in a worse way that Tom's done, because he did a really nice piece on it. Final question from the mailbag before a couple of other bits from Piercy in Macclesfield. After John's show of man love for his Egyptian prince Marmouche, please play the clip. So I'm going to have to go and find the clip.
Marmouche. I would love Marmouche. I would love.
Here we go.
I would love to bring in another Egyptian prince.
What other players does John fantasise about playing for Villa, realistically?
Oh, bloody hell. I hate being put on the spot, because I like to go away and think about it, and then I think of a few in a few days and think, Dan, can I just can you put it in somehow? Off the top of my head, I can't. I'd need to think about it properly. I mean, and that's a shame, really, isn't it? That we can't think about I'd love to sign that one, and that one because of the rules. We just can't. We know where we stand, and that it will be, the list of wingers that we have. Yeah, it might be one or two of those, and they're still good players, but you can't do exactly what you want. William Gomez, I'll say him again because I say that every episode. But it's an interesting one with Jared Bowen because I think again,
have we spoke about this yet?
I haven't. It screams Unai Emery. We know that, but I just always thought that. Well, we'll probably leave that one because of, firstly, what West Ham are going to ask. Because I'm not saying they don't need to sell Bowen, because I don't know that situation. But if they do let go of Fernandez and Somerville, they'd probably be raising I don't know, actually, 140. No, it's not actually that much. But 140 is still a lot of money. But for a Championship team who have the wage bill that West Ham had, they're going to have to shift quite a few. Bowen, I'm sure they'd love to keep. Basically, like Grealish, I think is different but similar in a way of he's a legend and everything is pinned on Bowen. But yeah, again, screams Emery. I just think, again, that average age that we have in the squad, like how much does he care about that? It's something that we'll ask him, obviously. We have asked him about it before, but sort of tiptoed around it a little bit, or maybe didn't quite fully understand what we were saying. But my point with the average age is always that if we're fighting rules, we need sellable assets, which is horrible, but we do. And if we sell Rodgers and bring in Bowen, and we bring in, let's say, a loan like an Asensio or something, those players, okay, we can't sell them for any money now. And then all of a sudden you shrink down to, okay, so next summer or the summer after, if we need to make more sales to give us a bit more flexibility, it's going to have to be one of Onana, one of, do you know what I mean? And that's when you have less power in negotiation. So we need a squad that is not only capable of winning and having experience, but also one that has assets like a Rodgers. Like Matsson's different, but a player that can develop, hopefully, like Maatsen. Maybe it's not him now, but let's see. Bogard, I suppose, as well. So, yeah, if Bowen joins, I think what it would guarantee is goals. It would guarantee numbers, and that would be something that is worth spending money for. I just wonder with this average age, are we viewing it more as, let's just keep this show going on and on and on. Let's win. Like, we've only won one thing, but let's give ourselves the best opportunity to be the best team we can possibly be. And that Emery loves, because that gives us access to Europe. That gives us access to, hopefully, Champions League, gives us access to prize money, all those things. And is that for Villa more important than trying to do those things, maybe having a lesser chance, but you have those players that you can maybe sell? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's two different ways to think about it, and we've obviously, at least up until now, thought about it, I think, more so in the win-win-win mentality. But yeah, let's see what happens. But if Bowen was to join, it would obviously be for a chunk of money that I think would be a bit of that's a lot of money for a 29-year-old. But at the same time, you know what you're going to get for him.
Yeah. I'm going to do the print giveaway winner now from the HR Designs print of John McGinn kissing that Europa League trophy. I referenced this on Monday. You didn't leave a comment, John, so sadly not. You can't win. The comment I picked, I selected 3 and I sent them over to Kendrick to pick. So blame him if he didn't win. The one I've picked is from Rody Rhodes. I'll recognise the name. So Rody Rhodes, if you want to get in touch, either in the comments again or email me. My email will be in the description, I guess. I don't know. Or tweet me. His comment was, John McGinn, I asked them to describe, if an alien landed, what would you say about John McGinn? How do you explain it? He said, John McGinn looks like he should be asking you if you want salt and vinegar on your chips. Instead, he's carrying the ball through 3 midfielders and nutmegging your captain. Pretty good for a pub player, which I really like, because I just thought, I'm not going to AI it because, save the planet and all that. I can just see John McGinn serving up chips in a chippy. That feels really McGinn. Yeah. I really like that comment. There's a few really good ones, actually. So, commiserations if you didn't win. So thank you everyone who got involved with that. There'll be more competitions to come, I'm sure, at some point in the future. John, I've got on my list of notes here, because you messaged me yesterday of things we could talk about away from the mailbag. I've got Villa Park bits and Bogard bits. Should we do Bogard bits? Because you mentioned Bogard before.
Not my glasses. Let's do Bogard bits. Okay. I think it's an interesting one for Bogard, and we said a few weeks ago, or maybe even a few months ago now, actually. So we're nearly in July, which is mad. What are we? Are we past halfway through the year?
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's crazy, isn't it?
It's 6 months till Christmas, isn't it? Christmas Eve.
No, Boxing Day now.
Yeah.
That's just bananas. Bogard. So I just don't see where he gets what he needs at this stage of his career. I really don't. No. And this is the case as well. So I did a bit of digging into it a couple of days ago, and from what I reported yesterday is, as of yesterday, the latest, obviously. So, and that is that Villa have had sort of initial talks with his camp over a new deal, as will be the case, I'm sure, with several players. But right now, it's a situation of nothing is decided. I don't know exactly if Bogard would be open to leaving, but I assume that he would be. There are a number of clubs that are interested in Bogard. I don't know what sort of price level they'd be looking at. And if Villa think, oh God, we can't sell him for that. Like, we need to give him a new deal because in a year he'll be worth X, you know. So it's an open situation is basically the case, which in itself I think speaks for quite a lot. You know, we've got to keep him because we think in the year it will be worth this, unless that price is too low at the moment. So I think this is a player who, Villa will be open to selling for the right price, should we say. But equally, they do rate him. So it's a bit of a sticky one. It's, again, the rules. The rules are the reason why this is a topic, rather than it just being Bogard saying, listen, I want to play more minutes now. Because you've got Kamara, coming back. You have Onana, those two players in that holding role. But then there's a new competitor, I suppose, for that role as well, as we saw from the back end of last season, which is Lindelof. I'm sorry, but that's Bogard. There's no space really. There is there? Sorry, I burped. You might have to cut that out. There's no space there. If Emerson Royal joins a right back, again, there's no space there for him either. So Emery loves his versatility and he rates him highly and sees a lot of potential, and that's great. But it's up to Bogard to, and I think at the start of the season he did take that opportunity and that responsibility to replace who was it that got injured? I can't quite remember. I'm going to assume it's Onana. I remember the Burnley game. And he kind of came of age in that, I thought, and it was like, yeah, he really looks the part here.
Yeah.
And I don't know exactly what it was. Maybe it was a knock of confidence that he didn't sort of keep his place. And all of a sudden he sort of went back to kind of the level that we had saw before, when we were saying, well, if he can develop on that, that's great. And he did, but then he came back, and that was I'm not too sure what is the best case here for Bogard. And if it was up to me, I would say probably for everyone, if you probably cash in at this point and keep a percentage of the next sale after that. For example, if he goes to Brighton or somewhere like that, or Forest. So, yeah.
Can I extend your hypothetical into a question of if he, we get an offer now from Brighton, as you just said, and it's 6 million, and we go, oh, come on,
we'll be more than that. Yeah,
for argument's sake, but you give him a new contract because we think next year he'll be worth 20. What is he going to do in the next 12 months to get his value to 20 if he's not able to play?
I know, but I totally agree. But my point there is more so if it's an offer that we just think, well, there's no point in selling him for that, i.e., it's just like, let's say 12, just maybe a bit more realistic. If we think, well, no, it's not worth, it's worth more than that, so we're never going to bother to sell him. He's more useful to us than what that money is, should we say. Then we think in a year, even if he plays a few more games, well, if he has a longer contract, he's not going to be worth less than 12 anyway. Do you know what I mean?
True, yeah,
his price won't drop, so we'd rather just keep him unless we need that 12 million for something. But then for me, I wouldn't see, because he is, again, one of a few assets that we have that could become a player who is worth a lot more than what he is now. But will that happen at Villa? I just can't see it. And if it does happen at Villa, I think something's gone quite wrong for the other ones, if that makes sense. So have we got another injury to Kamara? Lindelof, what's happened there? Because he was playing instead of Bogard. But then Onana too, you obviously have, and I didn't mention this, but you have McGinn, you have Tielemans, you have Barkley. Are there any others there that could play in midfield? I don't think so. But there's a lot there. Where is Bogard going to get his moment? Not just to play, by the way, but to start games. And that's the important thing. I think he started 5 games in 24-25 in the Premier League, which then was, I remember that season because he started against Leicester, didn't he, I think? And that was like, oh, Bogard, a right back, that's interesting. I think then he started at Young Boys, but he came off at half-time or the other way. And it was like, okay, he's getting a chance then. This is, Emery doesn't usually do this with youngsters. So he blooded him in. And then last season he started 11 Premier League games. And that's more than double, of course. But at the same time, is that then going to become 20? No, I can't see it would. If you ask me now how many games will Bogard start next season, like all things being fair, I'd probably say about 12 maybe, give or take.
Yeah.
Maybe it's less, because if Kamara stays fit for the whole season, he's going to start every single Premier League game. And if he doesn't, I think Lindelof probably would instead. Or maybe you'd play an Arna there and play Tielemans with it. So I just can't foresee him getting that opportunity. And for that reason, probably best to cash in, because I don't think we'd get a really low ball offer. And if we do, there's probably a workaround that, okay, well, if he goes to that club and he plays, yeah, okay, well, you pay either add-ons or you have 20% sell-on, and we work it that way. And Villa have obviously done that with a number of players that have gone elsewhere. So, yeah, I just feel like it's a bit of a sticky one. I mean, he could still sign a new deal. And we think, or Emery thinks, no, I do think I can fit him in here or here. But I see that's difficult for us to do that. For Bogard. Signing that new deal would be, great. But for the best of your career, I think it probably is best to find a new club.
What kind of figure then?
I think you've got to start a conversation at around, 20 million is the price that I keep having in my head about Bogard.
I don't see anyone paying that.
But I say that as kind of a, how much do you want? 20? No, we're not paying that. Okay. 16. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I think that's what you got to be. I don't think you can start a conversation at 10 because no. So yeah, I don't know. Let's say around 15 to 20. And I don't think that I don't think it would be a bad deal for a club like, with respect. Don't know, can't think now. But a club that's sort of small. I was about to say Tottenham. But yeah, maybe Palace. Yeah, like a club who's sort of, mid-table, but bottom half of the table, should we say?
Villa Park bits. You did some pieces yesterday again, I think it was, about the North Stand closure and ticket prices, blah blah blah. Do you want to just kind of summarise those stories amid a choking fit?
Choking on water. Oh man.
Anyone listening, by the way, I've got ice in mine. It keeps clinking every time I pick it up. So apologies for that.
Right, I've done who's that wrestler that smashed the cans? What's his name? Was it Hulk Hogan?
I don't know. Not a wrestling man. No idea. Didn't watch it.
Did you not watch it as a kid? I did when I was, I don't know, maybe 6. I don't know.
No, I had no interest whatsoever.
Mine would have been, what's his name? The Mexican chap. Small Mexican chap. No, what The Rock. I've got his name.
Rey Mysterio?
yeah, that done. Oh,
I know the name.
Anyway,
wrestling segment done. Next.
Yeah. What was it? Villa Park bit. So the FAB obviously met Villa many different times during the FAB meetings about tickets, Villa Park, all those sorts of things. Obviously the ticket prices came out. When did they come out? About a month ago now.
I mean, the deadline for season ticket renewals is coming up, by the way. For anyone who hasn't done theirs, like me, I think it's the first week of July. So probably
you haven't done it.
Days or so. I ain't done mine yet. No,
you haven't done it. Okay.
I was waiting for June's payday to drop through, which was yesterday. So
yeah. Firstly, I need to say that the fact as speaking to different people, I imagine it can be quite frustrating for them. I think when some fans or supporters sort of, like ticket prices have gone up by 5% on season tickets and match by match, and then Champions League have obviously gone up as well. And then I think automatically some people just think, oh, what are the fan board doing? They can only do so much. And I know that they do a lot to put forward the fans' case on a lot of different things, as do we try as well. But ultimately, the club make the last decision. They will listen to the FAB, but it's their decision at the end of the day. But I do know that the FAB do fight for what we want and do stand up for supporters. So the first thing I wanted to talk about quickly was that Villa are intending to freeze match-by-match tickets for the season after next season, after increasing them by 5% next season. So
is that a good thing? Should they not be coming down when we have the new stand ready?
Well, there's lots of different things that Villa have that Villa will say that they've improved or bettered, and kind of different reasons. Match tickets are going up because Villa's point of view, they're improving concourses. You can find this on the website and in other places. So I'm not going to list everything, but they've improved match day experience according to them and done, pumped in millions of pounds to do that. So for their point of view, it's okay. So you should now pay some more for your ticket. I would argue that I think some of the facilities and some of the things that have been improved on should have never been that bad beforehand. Do you know what I mean? So I don't totally agree with everything in that regard. And then the second part to that is that obviously North Stand is closing, and that's raised ticket prices as well, because it's squeezed match by match ticket availability to around 3,600 from next season, which is not a lot of tickets, is it?
No,
match by match, it's a really small amount. So yeah, you'd imagine every single game would be absolutely sold out, even the ones which sometimes may not have been with a full stadium. But if our capacity is 37,000, I'd like to think that all of the games are completely sold out. It's not the fans' fault that stand needs to be replaced, but I can understand Villa's point of view that they also need to be making money. But it's absolutely the right call to at least freeze it. I think that's what we need to say.
Oh, yeah. Don't raise it again. It's pretty obvious. But for me, that should be, well, we raised it last year because the stadium was reduced capacity. Now it's back up to its capacity, and not only back up to it, it's increased. Thanks, guys, for your support. We're going to lower the prices back to where they were. That's what you should do. But again, the PSR brigade will be after us saying, yeah, but you need the money because how are we going to sign players? It's a gesture of goodwill. Knock 5% back off. Yeah,
I think that would have been a gesture of goodwill. And the Champions League prices I've said on here before. We didn't do a podcast when those prices were announced because I was away for a couple of weeks after the season or something, and I couldn't do a podcast, but I called it out afterwards. I think it's disgusting. I think the prices to go higher than what they were before when Villa got battered for it. I was a bit in disbelief about that. Yeah, I can't fathom that sort of money for Champions League matches, and then the fact they will probably be raised as well for the knockouts based on the opponent, I think was the official line. Again, like I don't think that's right. So, but that was mainly the ticket bit. So yeah, match by match frozen in the campaign after next. Not a mention on season tickets though. We'll obviously have to see about that. They've been raised by 5% in the last 2 seasons, so 10% overall, and for the 5th season running. And the other bits that I wanted to mention quickly were, I guess related to that in a way, in the FAB meeting, Villa did say that, we have no plan to leave Villa Park, and it's, a big piece of our identity, so we don't want to sort of meddle with that, and we don't want to change that. But then they also said, however, because it's a 130-year-old building or like structure, there are some things that they can't do, and that I assume involves improvements in certain areas. I don't know exactly what they are. We could probably have a guess, but that I thought was a bit interesting that Villa have essentially admitted that, yeah, well, actually we can't. There are things that we just physically cannot do. Never really heard that before, but it is also quite like, well, yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah. Do you think that's kind of soft launching the idea of, well, look, in 5-10 years' time, look, we told you a few years ago it was hard to improve so and so. So at some point we need to, move away.
I don't think so, because I imagine the people who are saying that now may not be there in 10 years or something. Yeah, but it is a little bit, it's the first sort of thing I've, like you said, they're done. Oh, but in 10 years, does that mean that we need to do it though? Like at the moment, it's a case of, yeah. And Everton, Goodison Park, having gone there it really did need a lot of work, and it was a fantastic old stadium and all those things. But in 2026, they couldn't have, you've got to move on now. And they couldn't do anything to it. Villa Park, they have managed to adapt, obviously, quite a lot to be fair. But it is a little, I got a little bit of me thought like, oh, that's made me feel a little bit uneasy. Again, Villa don't want to move from Villa Park. But again, in 10, 20, 30 years, will we need to do certain things that we just cannot do? And that does really worry me. So, yeah, I thought that was sort of worth raising as well.
Yeah. Okay.
And then just the final bit was just that Villa are going to, or intend to bring in sort of a ticket souvenir scheme that if you obviously physical tickets you can't have unless you need one. But I don't know if Villa play Real Madrid next season and get a good result, then I think there'll be something in place. I don't know when, but the Villa are trying to put something in place that you can have like a physical thing as like memorabilia basically, which is nice.
Yeah, nice. Something to stick up on my wall here.